I will say, excited to bring in our next guest. I love sweet treats.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
There are some people that are salty people.
Yeah, some people are. But, we ignore the salty. We're trying to stay positive here. Don't be salty.
So we've been trying to cut out sugar a lot in our home, in our family dinners. But the one thing about our Sunday family dinners, when it's someone's birthday, then we get to have cake.
Of course.
Well, there's a lot of people in our family, so we're having cake quite a bit.
And there's the deer that are also trying to get the cake.
Yeah, they were munching on my flowers this morning. But excited to bring in Madeline Doman. She's the owner of MaddieBakes. It's a cake and pastry creations based in Birmingham. Your cakes are absolutely stunning. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, how are you? And thank you, by the way.
How do you come up with these?
I meet with clients and they give me sort of what they're looking for, design, and I sketch up what they're thinking and kind of just play around and create. So I look at different fashions and textures, and I really like to play around with different things and make each cake unique to my clients.
So Maddie, if I can ask you, because you don't look that old, and we never ask ladies their age.
No.
I went to school in South Carolina. You learned that. But I will say, how long have you been baking? Because your cakes aren't just a cake. They are masterpieces, really.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I have been baking ever since I was little. 10 plus years now professionally, 7 years. And I've always had a passion for it, and I always loved it.
So give us a little bit of background. What's your training?
So I went to the French pastry school after I graduated college, and I was there for 2 years. I did the pastry program, and then I did the cake program following. And it was the best education I've ever received. I was trained under top of the line pastry chefs. Super grateful for that experience.
Was it a little intense though, as well?
Oh yes. So it was a program that was condensed into 2 years. We did breads, entremets, you name it. So it was definitely intense. It was 12 hours every day, but I learned a great deal, and it taught me everything I know.
So I know that you're really known here locally for your wedding cakes. What's it been like for you in the middle of the pandemic, because so many weddings were postponed?
Yes, so the pandemic was difficult. But it's super exciting that people are getting married again, and I'm able to do larger, bigger wedding cakes, but definitely was difficult when people weren't getting married or weren't able to have large gatherings.
And so with that, can I ask, how do you come up with the flavors? Do you just sit in the kitchen all day, every day, like a wizard, mixing up new flavors?
I will say this, COVID, that definitely gave me some time to really, I'm always exploring different flavors and pairings, and making sure my cake recipes are top of the line, and experimenting with how I can make them better and what I can do differently. So I will say during COVID, I was able to have a little more time in the kitchen to explore different flavors and work on my recipes.
Well, I'll say it's not fair, because I look at a cookie and I gain 20 pounds. I'm like, how do you not eat all day, like sugar all day?
I don't make leftovers.
That's the key, huh?
And I taste things, and
So can I ask you what advice, because we've there's been an explosion of so many of these cooking shows, but also the baking shows. Like, I think there's even a new one on Fox, Crime Scene Baking or something like that. So there's been an explosion of cooking and baking shows. Is it competition? Do you feel like you have to one up everyone? Because of course there was Cake Boss a few years ago. Or do you think it helps your industry in getting more people interested in doing this?
I would say, and this is what I learned at the French pastry school too, it's just working together with people and being excited about it and sharing different ideas. And I'm not as much into the competition aspect. I enjoy watching it. I think it's fun, but I also think it's so fun to get people involved in the kitchen and just to be creative and see different ideas and get inspiration from, people. And it is such a fun thing to do. And it brings joy to people, and it's happy. And I love that. And I love that I can share that and we can all be together with that.
Madeline Doman with us here on the MegaCast. She's the owner of MaddieBakes, a cake and pastry creations based in Birmingham. And can I ask you, we're all friends here, just between us. What's the craziest request you've ever had?
I would say the craziest request is I had to do I want to say it was like 5 foot tall Mickey character. That was a pretty crazy cake.
How long does it take you to create that, to make it and shape it?
I mean, it was a crazy week. Long hours creating the Mickey cake and really building the character of Mickey. And it was for a little boy's birthday, but yeah, that was a challenging one.
But if I can kind of add something here, because I do know that some people say, oh, it's a cake. But when it's a part of your special day, whether it's a birthday or an anniversary or a celebration of a life event, the cake can mean so much. So for my husband and I, when we got married, he's a comic book collector. And we had cupcakes that were made in all his favorite comic books characters. Trust me, that was the farthest I was going to go, because he would have had all of our guests dressed up a comic book, like as characters. I was like, no. But I knew I had to get comic books in there somewhere because it was such a big part of his personality. And I will say it meant so much to him. It was a surprise to him. And then on our 1-year anniversary, we saved the cupcakes. We had a little cake, but then the cupcakes, and we saved them. And people may think it's a cake, but you're really helping them make memories and these special moments. What do you take away from that?
It's really satisfying, and that's why I do what I do. It's you're right. It's not just a cake. It is making someone's celebration. It's creating these memories, and what I take away is it makes everything worth it when I deliver a cake and I see that enjoyment and, how happy they are with the cake, and it makes their event special. And that's why I do what I do. I love it.
So we know that baking is about measurements and precision, but I'm not good at that. I'm like, yeah, a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah, throw that in too. But what advice would you give to people who are maybe baking challenged? I mean, and you're talking to a person who has burnt cookies that were sliced cookies. Like you slice the cookie dough and you put it on a sheet and you burn them.
So like you said, baking is all about precision and being exact. My biggest thing is follow the recipe. The method is important. If it says the butter at room temperature, make sure the butter's at room temperature. Every little instruction is important to making your final product. And at the French pastry school, we measured in grams, which is very precise. So I would say if you have a recipe in grams and you have a scale, without fail, if you follow that instruction to a T, you'll get a great product every time.
So can I ask you, does everyone want to invite you over for dinner because they know you're going to bring a nice treat?
I will say, like, most of the times I'm invited, you know, they're like, oh, is dessert coming? Or, you know, and I'm always happy to bring dessert.
No, you should say, no, I'm bringing a cheese tray.
Yeah, right. Oh, I got the charcuterie. What do you mean?
Yeah, I picked it up at Costco. So with that too, where can people find your creations? Because I feel like they are just that. Like for the two cakes behind you, how long would those take you to make?
So I have sugar flowers on this cake, which is definitely a specialty of mine. I take a lot of time in making realistic sugar flowers. I've done many classes to get better at that skill. And you can make sugar flowers well in advance because it's made from sugar and it pretty much lasts forever. So I am always working on sugar flowers to have some to put on a cake. But this cake, I would say I like to bake cakes as close to the event as I can because I want it to be the freshest possible. But I'll start working on a cake like that week.
That week. I'm looking at them. So I will say, for anyone that's listening, because, you know, she's making it like, oh, maybe that week, but you haven't seen the creations. And so what's your website?
My website is MaddieBakes.com.
Do you go by Maddie? We've been calling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, obviously you named your name Maddie, so, you know, we should call you Maddie. So with that too, can I ask you, what about social media? How has it played in to your marketing, especially during COVID? Because we do know that like on Instagram and Facebook, like the Facebook videos and Instagram Reels, they've really helped launch so many people in their careers. Have you found social media to be a good avenue for you?
Yes, very much so. I feel like I'm still learning with posting and reposting, but just when I deliver a wedding cake and someone posts or tags me and I can repost it and people see that and I get followers, and whenever I post a cake and I hashtag and it shows up on someone else's feed who doesn't necessarily know me yet, it's been very helpful. I am still getting better with it, but it's definitely a great avenue to reach a wider audience. For sure.
So I'm watching one of those master classes right now, and I think we need a local master class, and you should be a part of the master class. Like, how do you even begin to make these amazing flowers out of sugar? Do you study nature first and then try to bring that into your kitchen?
Yeah, so when I have a bouquet or when I'm working on a sugar flower arrangement for a cake, I usually bring in fresh flowers and I look at how their movement, how they fall on each other, and that really inspires me to create lifelike flowers for the cake from real.
That's so amazing to me. You really are. You're not just a baker, but you're an artist. Do you consider yourself an artist?
Oh, well, thank you very much. I do. Yes, I think that with creating different cakes, and sketching them out, I do consider myself a cake artist. Yes.
Well, and with that, anything to touch on that you want to share with us before we say goodbye?
If you would like some sweet treats or a beautiful cake, please reach out. I will be starting classes soon too. So my website is MaddieBakes.com. You can email me at MaddieBakesSweets@gmail.com. Keep baking out there. So much fun.
I love that. And I will say, when you go to her website, you're going to be intimidated because they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. So when you start hosting events again, is it for beginners as well, or are you looking for people with a little bit of kitchen experience?
All different, beginners, experienced. I've done classes with people who've never picked up a piping bag. So it's for everyone. It's little kids too. So I enjoy all the creative people who just want to have fun and decorate TV.
Well, we're so glad to have you on the show with us, and we're so happy to see that you're still hanging in there post-COVID. And we know that this has been a busy summer with so many people that have postponed their weddings, and I think the next 2 years you're going to be pretty busy.
I hope so, yes. But it's already been busy, so it's good.